Hello Funkers, Tony Funk here, back at it again. Welcome to this Tony Tangent. It's been a while, guys, since I've just kind of talked to you. No script or anything like that. I just kind of wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about just some interesting things I've noticed and kind of tease a video of mine that's coming out here shortly. I'm working on a Tokyo Ghoul video, and the thing that I just kind of wanted to talk about is that, have you guys ever noticed that Tokyo Ghoul seems to have influenced Chainsaw Man? Kaneki Ken is like a prototype of Denji. Let's see if we even have like comparisons. Yeah, okay. There's like, yeah, half human anti-hero. So just the things I've noticed. I'm sure there's a lot of like animes that also kind of follow in these steps, but like Kaneki Ken, right? He's a human who has a transplant of a ghoul, and so he becomes a hybrid because of that transplant. And that ghoul is an entity that lives inside him. And I mean, Chainsaw Man definitely like plagiarized this idea. And I know it's like a common trope, if you will, but there's just more similarities than that. They're both orphans. You know, Denji was living in a shack, and Kaneki was just living on his own in an apartment, and in traditional Japanese fashion, abandons his apartment. And then Denji, he abandons his shack once he becomes a hybrid, devil guy. And then Denji starts living with Aki. I just think it's interesting that they become members of these societies in order to fight more of their own kind. So I just feel like these similarities are really big. I will say that one of the biggest differences between Tokyo Ghoul and Chainsaw Man is how Denji is not as much of a conflicted character as Kaneki is. Denji wants to fuck Makima, and because of how simple his motivations are, there's really no aspect to his character that's conflicted. And I just kind of want to see what this CBR article is even saying. Chainsaw Man's Denji versus Tokyo Ghoul's Kaneki. Who's the better half, other anti-hero? We may as well just, react to this. So let's just fucking do it. I hope you guys have fun here. So, okay. So who's the better half, other anti-hero? I'm going to say, just personally, Denji. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, if it's Denji or Kaneki. I think Denji's a better anti-hero. I find him compelling as a character because he's just very different from most protagonists, at least in like modern anime. I just think that he really reflects the orphan background, whereas Kaneki doesn't. I mean, he's like really responsible for being orphan, and we don't know anything about like how he actually was able to raise himself properly and stuff like that, but he became really mature and yet regressed emotionally, which is very interesting. So in that aspect, I'm going to say Denji. All right, the life of Ken Kaneki, the one-eyed ghoul. Ken Kaneki is a seinen protagonist who once thought he'd live an ordinary life. Right, we know that. Ken did more than power up as a half-ghoul with his own kagune, or combat-oriented appendages. He learned that some ghouls are innocent, just like many humans are, and CCG investigators like Kuro Mado and Kotaro Amon unfairly targeted the innocent ones. Ghouls are a mixed bag, just like humanity itself, and indiscriminate killings will never make the world a better place. Ken sought to unite the two feuding sides. Okay, we know that. So we know Denji's backstory. Denji's just a fucking hybrid devil human person. But it says here that Denji's also like an anti-dreamer. I don't know what that means. We're gonna look up anti-dreamer. Anti-dreamer characters. What does this mean? Anti-dreamer. I'm not finding any information on what kind of a character an anti-dreamer is. I guess what they mean by anti-dreamer is that like he doesn't really have any like major goals in his life. But I feel like this article, I mean, CBR has been known to be wrong. So we can just say like, I'm destroying this article if you guys want. If you guys want to position this that way. One of the biggest themes of Chainsaw Man is dreams. And using those dreams to live a happy life in a terrible world. Like that is the main concept, that is the main idea behind Chainsaw Man. I just think it's interesting that they're calling him an anti-dreamer. I don't think he's an anti-dreamer. I mean, I still don't really know what that means. I just feel like this was written haphazardly, But anyway, Denji's powerful but lacks arrogant pride, instead willingly becoming Makima's dog and following orders without question. Yeah, it's just he's a really cool character, in my opinion. It's not like he has no personality of his own, which is why he's like subservient to Makima. It's not that at all. It's just like he was an orphan. And so this is his best shot at life. And being one of Makima's dogs is actually like part of his whole plan, is to get in her pants. And it's just, I mean, it may seem like a very mundane goal, but you have to understand like just what kind of life he's been living and how little of a concept he has of advancing through life. He's got an orphan mentality, which is really what I like about Denji. It's like he's actually charming because of that. Whereas Kaneki, in my personal opinion, I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I think he's a great character, but I think his personality is kind of annoying. He's like this tentative pussy, and obviously he changes. I'm just saying that his starting point is already like annoying. But anyway, so Ken Kaneki versus Denji, who's the better half anti-hero? That's what we want to find out here. Let's see what CBR's. This article sucks, man. What kind of a fucking article is this? I mean, it just tells us like basic ass shit about these guys, right? And then in two paragraphs, they put it to rest. I feel like this was written by a copywriter, copyright author, Louis Kemner. Louis Kemner has been a fan of Japanese animation since 1997. You can just say anime since 1997. This seems a little weird. Maybe it's for SEO purposes, but it just seems a little weird to phrase it that way. When he discovered Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z in elementary school. Okay. Same, man. Those were like some of the first animes I saw. I mean, Digimon 2 and stuff like that. But anyway. Now he's a bigger anime manga fan than ever and is ready to share what he knows with readers worldwide. He graduated high school in 2009 and received his bachelor's in creative writing from University of Missouri, Kansas City. Okay. Then put his skills to work in 2019 with CBR.com. He's always looking for a wonderful new anime to watch or manga series to read. Well, let me tell you something. For somebody who got their bachelor's degree in creative writing, this article is dog shit, man. This article is awful. Let's just read what, like, I know I haven't even read like these two paragraphs yet, but like, how can you make an argument figuring out which is the better anti-hero when these are two really complex stories with so many different themes? And you spend 2/3 of the article just talking about their backgrounds, and then you only spend the last third figuring out which one's better. This Louis guy probably graduated, Louis Kemner probably graduated with a D+ or some shit, because this is not very good creative writing. And the first fucking 2/3 aren't creative either. They're just rehashing what happened. Okay. I gotta stop. I'm brutalizing this guy. I'm sorry. All right. Chainsaw Man's Denji and Tokyo Ghoul's Ken Kaneki both have serious merit as memorable, monstrous half-others. But in the end, Ken Kaneki's the better hero. I mean, I disagree, but let's see. Let's see why. He and Denji have many basic things in common, but the key difference is that Ken is deeply compelling on his own, while Denji is appealing because Chainsaw Man as a whole is an enticing shonen deconstruction. Put another way, Denji is cool because Chainsaw Man itself is cool, meaning Denji's contextually an outstanding half-other. Of course, Denji's still a great character thanks to his relatable, humble dreams and his sense of humor, and most of all his dazzling chainsaw powers. However, Ken can do more. They're saying that Ken is just better because he's more compelling on his own. Look, I'm not going to deny that torture scene and stuff like that, like it turns Ken into a different kind of character. I mean, that's like the tail end of his story arc or character arc. That transforms him. So I understand what they're saying. Like, he definitely has a more fleshed out story arc. But I feel like the reason why, personally, I think Denji is just a better written character is because Kaneki Ken's story arc really relies on his character dying, so to speak. But I think the change is really abrupt and how his character just gains this like dark morality. What I am going to admit though is that I really like the scenes where he's talking to Rize in his mind and shit. And he's getting an idea of like what it is to be righteous, like is it more righteous to stand back and not do anything because you don't want to hurt people, or is it more righteous to get your hands dirty and hurt somebody for the greater good? And so, the means justifying the end sort of thing, that's one of the things that he struggles with during that torture scene. But after that torture scene, I just feel like his morality is very cut and dry after that. And it's just like, I don't know. I feel like it's a caricature of a story arc rather than an actual story arc where there's still confliction later on. But again, that's just my opinion, and I still think he's a fucking terrific character. I'm not gonna lie. Let's be honest here. He's a great character. And so, I mean, I guess one of the things that we can say is like, what's better? Is a character with a story arc better than a static character? And if you want to look at it that way, the answer is most of the time they're not. Most of the time, static characters are very frustrating because they don't change. It doesn't matter what happens in their lives, they just don't change. Whereas, dynamic characters, they let their lives change them for the better, which is definitely, part of Ken Kaneki's case. It's just what I'm arguing is that the execution of it just seemed too cheesy, I think his change was too on the nose, and it wasn't subtle enough, and it wasn't gradual. Like, one of the reasons why I love Vegeta so much as a character in Dragon Ball is because his evolution was so gradual. Like, there's no specific event that changed Vegeta from Saiyan Saga Vegeta to Dragon Ball Super Vegeta. There is no point in between those 2 points of the story that caused them to make that change. Whereas with Ken Kaneki, it's like this instant change stemming from being tortured. And of course, there are things, in the past that he regrets and stuff like that. But it's just like a pivotal moment that just changes the character, and that just doesn't feel real. It feels cathartic when he starts, beating the shit out of Jason. I'm not gonna lie, that's a very cathartic moment, and it makes you feel good, and it makes you say yes, fuck yeah, because we've been so tired of seeing him pussyfoot around everything. But moving forward in Tokyo Ghoul Route A, he just seems like a different character. Denji, on the other hand, even though he is a static character, which can be very frustrating, the reason he's a static character is because his upbringing showed him that life is about survival, and it's about celebrating your small victories. And so it's very difficult to change that mentality when pretty much anything other than starvation is a win for you. Adventure is a win, food is a win, fondling titties is a win. Like, all of these like very mundane and insignificant things, he's treating them like they're, the greatest thing in the world. And I just want to say, like, to me, that seems like a more compelling character, in my personal opinion. But anyway, let's just continue here. Ken has even cooler powers than Denji and a better getup too. Besides that, Ken has more thematic depth. So I think it's arguable if he has cooler powers than Denji. I mean, obviously that's a matter of opinion, of course. I mean, this whole article is a matter of opinion, but I don't know, man. If we look at their powers, they can both regenerate with blood, so those cancel out. And again, there's just another similarity, man. And I just think Denji having chainsaws for hands and a chainsaw face. Come on, dude. That's just, come on. How can you beat that? So I don't know. I think it's very debatable. Thematic depth, I will say his story arc is a lot better, obviously, because he has one and Denji doesn't. So by default, he has more thematic depth. But he doesn't have realism, which I think really docks Ken Kaneki points. But anyway, let's continue reading. Such as his more emotionally and philosophically nuanced struggle with his two halves. Yes, okay, fine. I'm going to concede this for sure. Ken Kaneki, he does have two philosophies that he's trying to balance out in his head. And this is going to be like a big theme of my coming video. And it's about like duality and figuring out how to reconcile with your own morality when your nature doesn't allow it. And I'm not going to say more just so I don't spoil the video, but it's going to be about that. So yes, I think this is really good. I just think Ken as a character isn't great, but his struggle is fantastic. So this also echoes society's own struggle to reconcile its ghoul and human sides. Okay. Ken's personality was warped by his brutal ghoul nature, but he also retained his noble humanity, making him almost like two characters in one while remaining cohesive as a single entity during his dark but noble quest. All this makes Ken anime's finest half other anti-hero. Okay, I get what he's saying. I really truthfully understand what Mr. Louis Kenmer is saying. I just think he should have fucking put a little bit more effort on this CBR article, because come on, this barely even touched the surface about things, and he didn't even dive in depth into Denji and why he's the way that he is. But again, doesn't really matter. I mean, you can argue either way. I would just like to know what you guys think. I mean, these are two very similar characters, just conceptually, within their roles, within their own universes. And I would like to see what you guys think. Who's the better character? Is it Denji or is it Ken? Anyway, Funkers, I hope you guys enjoyed this tangent here, and I hope you guys bully Louis Kenmer, like really bully him. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But anyway, guys, expect a Tokyo Ghoul video coming here soon, and I shall see y'all's down the road.